Hello everyone watching at home, you're with Adelaide Eternal and we're bringing you our monthly tournament. This one is a Christmas special. We're bringing you Classic, and Classic is an Adelaide Eternal format. It is basically covered in the video at the beginning of this series, so you can learn all about it in that one, along with some sample decks. But also, it is the prime rule is that there's no shuffling. So no tutors, no fetch lands, and a whole lot faster games. So I'm Sarven McLinton. I'm here in the booth with Brendan Dobson.
Hi there.
And speaking of Brendan, you're in this match. Let's have a little quick look at your player profile. So Brendan is on the left, and he's a mainstay of the Adelaide Eternal scene. And you've been doing a lot of brews, and you're the brew master. So anytime I want to brew something, I'm coming to you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And with those brews, he's taken down 2 legacy tournaments, a Highlander tournament, and he's top-8'd a whopping 10 of our challenges. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the deck list that you're on currently, and then that might also be a bit of a showcase of the format itself.
Yeah, no worries. So the deck that I took today was trying to figure out, because it's a new format, I wanted to try out Bug Control, just to see how good it was. I know Leovold's a very good card, and we thought that Storm was going to be quite a big part of the format. So I essentially wanted to run a 3-color deck, which is quite difficult in this format because of no fetches. So I had to be very careful with my mana and with what cards that I could play as well. So I ended up wanting to play Treasure Cruise, which means you have to play more cycling sort of cards. And then I also wanted to play Him to Turak.
Oh, yes.
But instead of that, I couldn't because it was double black. So I had to try and play Whispers of Emrakul, which needs Delirium. So that then led me down the road that I ended up taking with the different Mishra's Bauble and Street Wraith and stuff.
I love looking at your list and going like, I don't know what this card is. I had to read Whispers of Emrakul, but yeah, it's legit Him to Turak, but you just need Delirium. And you can do that off Artifact for the Bauble and Creature for the Street Wraith, and then probably an instant or sorcery. Did you find that got turned on quite often?
Yeah, it really does, especially with Mox Diamond and Force.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can very easily, like you can turn one, go Mox Diamond, pitch land, Bauble, Street Wraith, force something they've played if they're on the play, and then turn one Whispers them, which, you know,
that's awesome.
It's not bad.
I love this format. If you haven't seen this yet, just go and have a look at the Classic introduction video. But this is a really good example of something that you want to do when you're on 3 colours. So let's have a switch over to Michael Hearn's list. And so this is a 2-colour list. And mana bases are always tricky when you're building in Classic, because obviously the mainstay fetch lands are gone, and you don't have a deterministic way of building your mana base. So Michael's pared a Storm list back down to just 2 colours. And the deck is a bargain Storm deck. So basically, you're looking at Yawgmoth's Bargain. If you haven't ever played a bargain before, basically the only time you really get to play it is Vintage, right? I think it's banned in Commander, it's banned in Legacy, its home is Vintage. And if you can cobble together enough rituals and so on to play that bargain pretty consistently on turn 3, sometimes turn 4, but quite often on turn 3, then from the bargain, it's basically like an ad nauseum that's just totally gassed up. Like, it just costs you 1 life to draw cards. And I found that often when you're using the bargain, you end up just winning instantly, or you kind of go down to 2 life and you go, oh, my hand can't actually win with this because I don't have any starter mana. So you end up playing your, I won't say 2 life, let's say 5 life. Then you end up playing your Lion's Eye Diamond, and then cracking it and discarding that whole hand of cards that you just couldn't play for blue mana. And then you continue to use your bargain, and you go that extra, 2 or 3 cards. Then you use that to get a Preordain with the blue. Then you find Lotus Petal, which lets you start off Dark Ritual. And then you play this mini Tendrils for 10. And then you go back up to, not Tendrils of 10 life, I mean. You go back up by 10 life, then you bargain again for 10 more life, and then you find your way to win. So it's quite a consistent deck. It's a lot of fun, and I guess we'll see how it plays out in this game. So the players have, here's your hand. So Force of Will, bunch of lands, Abrupt Decay.
I think there's Days in there as well.
Oh, yeah. And this is a Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal, and some lands. I couldn't quite see the rest of it, but you're on the play. Underground Sea into Mishra's Bauble. So I definitely had to read Mishra's Bauble when I saw it, and I went, oh, okay. Like, do you get to scry your opponent? No, you look at it. You look at the card, so it's information. But you don't get to put it on the bottom like a fate seal.
Yeah, it would be a lot better if it was scry.
It was so good.
Can also be difficult sometimes to remember that in the next upkeep is when you draw the card. So you sometimes miss those triggers.
Yeah, good point. So that was an aggressive daze, right? That's dazing their Serum Visions. But, I mean, you have to, because in this format, Serum Visions is really strong. Like, that scry, when you don't get to shuffle your deck and you don't get to search, is really powerful.
Yeah, it's can make a huge difference, just helps them set up. So I wanted to try and get out ahead of that.
And this is a sleight of hand, the Portal second edition, second age art, I think. Whatever it is, it's black border, so respect. So duress, and this hand, is it vulnerable to duress? Not really, is it?
A little
Force,
bit.
I guess.
Yeah, I think just takes out my blue cards. So either way, he's likely going to turn Force off.
Yeah, true.
Which then slows down if in case he tries to combo me out, which is bad.
Yeah. So the Treasure Cruise is basically dead at this point in the game, but Life from the Loam dredging isn't irrelevant, is it, to actually fuel Treasure Cruise?
Yeah, no, it can make a huge difference. That was another reason why I added that one in there, just to try and increase the graveyard. Treasure Cruise is such a good card, so...
I like it. Yeah, so he takes Force, and that's a pretty safe play for when you're on Storm. For those who haven't seen how the format is constructed, you'll find that you want to jam 4 Treasure Cruise or 4 Dig Through Time, which you totally can, but you need to construct your deck in a very certain way. These cards are unbanned, but there's no fetch lands, there's no Gataxian Probe, there's no Mental Misstep, there's not very many free ways of fueling Delve, and you've built a deck that does actually delve quite early, both through 4 Mishra's Bauble and 4 Street Wraith.
Yeah, well, you have to really consider it. Like, it's a major part of the deck building, which you don't really have to think about as much in the other formats. Whereas this one, it adds a lot of constraints.
And that's yes. Oh, here we go. This is a bargain. Oh, so this is so that was Ritual Lotus Petal into bargain with a Lion's Eye Diamond, which he can crack now before he starts drawing cards. Or just play Chrome Mox for the Storm. Wow, we're going off.
Turn 3 bargain, seems good.
Oh, man. But this is a perfect showcase for Storm in this format. And, you don't need a Infernal Tutor when you've got bargain, right?
Yeah, or just, draw 20 cards.
Yeah.
Especially this early in the game.
That's it. Turn 3.
Tends to get you there.
Tutors, with the tutors gone, it means that you don't have as many deterministic wins, so there's a little bit more variance, but also it takes away Storm's turn 1 wins. It can't win turn 1, but with bargain it has this consistent, turn 3 win.
It also really changes how the deck plays, because it can't just play one tendrils. You have to be able to regularly see it, because you can't just tutor for it. You need to end up playing a lot more. So in this case, Michael's playing 3. Yeah,
very good point. And having to do, tendrils partway through your storming out just to be able to draw more cards is, necessary. And remember, in this format, if you scry a tendrils to the bottom, it's the same as exiling it, because you're never shuffling your deck.
Yeah, that's it. It makes a huge difference, and the play changes a lot.
So this is Storm Count 8, is that right? Or is that mana? Is that black mana on the right? I saw
so on the right on Michael's playmat is the mana, and I was keeping track of Storm for him.
Okay, all right. So it's a Storm Count 8, and then black mana is 7. I mean, this is pretty scary. It takes Leovold just because Leovold, right?
just in case he can't finish it.
Oh no! This is a sequence of Cabal therapies.
It's pretty bad when they get to just take your entire hand.
Oh man. Okay, so Abruptico gone just because just because he can take stuff.
Why not?
I mean, at some point he's got to take that Treasure Cruise, right? Oh,
it
doesn't
matter.
It's lethal tendrils. Wow. So that's a really good showcase of seeing how the Storm deck goes off. Obviously, when you get to the sideboards, things are going to be a little bit different, because what do you have in your side to come in here?
So I've got a few different things. I've got some Mindbreak traps, some Chalice of the Voids, Nature's Claims to deal with the bargains, because that's their main way to combo out, and Duress as well.
I can imagine that Nature's Claim is going to be like a blessing and a curse, right? Where you kind of go, they resolve it, and you pick the right time exactly when when you're going to Nature's Claim it, but letting them have 4 life, but they can't use those 4 life to draw cards. So they're probably going to go down to 1, and then they're going to gain 4 life and go up to 5, but their bargain's gone.
Hope they don't have another bargain in
That's
hand.
right. Just fingers crossed.
Play another bargain, draw another 5 cards.
That's it. But I'm sure it's still better than other worse cards that you're taking out anyway. And also, Nature's claiming someone's Chrome Mox is also pretty good because, I mean, they invest 2 cards into the Chrome Mox, and oftentimes if they Chrome Mox and pass the turn, a Nature's Claim at that kind of surgical point would be pretty strong.
Yeah, it can also make a huge difference because they have to get to 6 mana, which is, it takes a lot of resources to get there early. So being able to hold them off, that can make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Yeah, the critical mana point in Storm in Classic is 6, right? Rather than, say, the Infernal Tutor with a Lion's Eye Diamond on the battlefield, where you only actually really need 2 mana, so to speak, and then you start generating mana off the Lion's Eye with the Tutor on the stack. You can't do that here. So Lion's Eye Diamond is arguably a fair card in Classic.
Yeah, it doesn't seem nearly as broken.
Yeah, so he's brought in 2 Submergers there, and I guess that's a hedge to Leovold and any other kind of creature-based hate piece he's expecting?
Yeah, that's what I assume. Leovold's pretty good against him because they can't go off with bargains. So if I just drop that early, like turn 2 or even turn 3, I don't think they can win through it. So.
And I know you were telling me at some point an interaction between Leovold and Mindbreak Trap against Storm. How does that work?
Yeah, so when they target you with their tendrils, because they target you for each copy, you will draw a card off it. So every time they target, draw before the tendrils resolves. So you essentially see 10 more cards to find a Mindbreak Trap, and then they just lose.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can see why the Submergers are brought in then. It's pretty worried.
That's why I was playing Leovold. It seems quite good in a lot of matchups.
Yeah. I like how in Classic there's this tension between whether you want to build a 3-color deck in the less consistent mana base. You know, you have to play either a whole bunch of dual lands, or you got to play like tri-lands, or you got to play like Mana Confluence and so on. But then you lose to Blood Moon. So there's this kind of like tension in the format where you have to really think about what the pros and cons are of going deep. Whereas in Legacy, it's a free roll to run 3 colors, and then it's the 4th color, with a Deathrat Shaman. it's pretty standard, isn't it? Delver decks having 4 colors.
Yeah, well, like especially even just Deathrat Shaman not being there makes a huge difference.
His hand is suspect, right? 4 land, Cabal Therapy, and a hand selection and hand disruption card. Yeah, that's it's fine, but he's playing the long game, right? Not the slow game.
I think he realizes that my clock isn't super fast,
Yep.
so he knows that he'll be able to take some time, sculpt his hand, drop a bargain, and then get the win.
Yeah, that's fair. So, like, if it was against Delver, he wouldn't keep that, but against you, you're more of a mid-range deck. So you're mulling to 5?
Yeah, mull to 5.
This is rough. I mean, I guess I could imagine some kind of perfect 5. I don't know what the perfect 5 is. You could tell me what that is, but there'd be a perfect 5 there. Maybe some amount of disruption, some amount of early pressure, and Leovold.
Yeah, well, I just know that if I don't have some sort of interaction with him, it doesn't do anything. And because because the format's so split between creature decks and moon decks and storm and stuff, you end up having a lot of cards trying to fulfill multiple roles.
Yep. And I guess there is also that, you're not afraid of getting combo turn 1. It's not Legacy. So, is this another mull?
Yeah, I mull to 4.
This is not good.
It's a bit sad.
I'm trying to imagine the perfect 4. I guess you're playing the Mox, right? You got the
Mox Diamond.
Mox Diamond. So maybe there's some kind of hand where you can get a Leovold turn 2.
Yeah. The thing is as well, like, because I'm playing a 3-color deck, your consistency in your mana base is terrible.
Yeah, true.
Like, I think I remember a couple of these mulls were because I had no lands that could cast anything in my hand.
Wow.
So it makes a huge difference without the fetch lands.
Building seems, like a tri-land here could be really good, right? Like it's starting off with I can't remember what the bug tri-land is from the new set. I don't know what it's called. So Underground Sea meets Underground Sea. Serum Visions. Okay. Serum Visions, it looks a bit lackluster when people go, oh, you're playing an Eternal format, why are you playing Serum Visions? But it's really good. Like, Scry is so strong in this format.
It really is probably one of the best selection cards that you can get. Like, Brainstorm's legal, and it's just terrible.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Feels very, very weird that
Yeah,
you play Sarven missions
Oh,
over
man.
any brainstorms.
In Classic, the king is dead, right? Oh, Thought Scour. Yeah, Thought Scour is one of the powerhouse cards in Classic. Like, being able to play 8 Scour effects and then 4 Dig Through Times and a Treasure Cruise or something is pretty strong for combo decks.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Just being able to feel like you really have to build your deck to fill your graveyard if you want to play delve spells. And they're some of the most powerful spells, like Ancestral Recall is banned.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of options for your 1 blue. So here's a Duress. And your Gaia Reach Sanitarium Treasure Cruise Nature's Claim?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, that cruise would be turned on relatively swiftly given that you Thought Scoured and so on. But obviously the Mull is pretty savage.
No, it is. Even especially with Gaia Reach as well. That's another card that I added in there. It does a couple of different jobs. Gives you some good card selection in a format where card selection is harder to come by. But it also then fuels your graveyard. And then even if you've got Gaia Reach and Leovold out, what you can do is, if they're hellbent in their upkeep, you activate Gaia Reach. They draw discard, and then they don't draw again for the turn. So they just never draw a card for the rest of the game.
Yeah, you've got me with that before.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting people, he wrecked your hand. You played Gaia Reach the next turn and played Chalice of the Void.
Yeah, Chalice on 1 is pretty strong against Storm when they play so many 1 spells.
Yeah. I mean, it shuts off every card selection they have, and every hand disruption they have, and Dark Ritual.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to go by petals and actual land drops.
Yeah, and then even if he starts going off with Bargain, there's a good chance he just draws dead cards.
Yeah, and you're activating Gaia Reach Sanitarium end of turn, so you actually
in his end step, so he doesn't get value out of it.
Yep. So you're actually really building up to a possible cruise or something in the future quite easily here.
Yeah, definitely.
Whispers of Emrakul. So you do or don't have Delirium. You got instant.
I think I realized after I cast this that I didn't have Delirium.
Okay.
Which was
so
sad.
what happens if it's not Delirium?
So if it's not Delirium, you just discard 1 card at random. Whereas
Okay.
if you have Delirium, you discard 2 cards at random. So
Alright.
so it's not always
Why?
dead.
But you hit
gets
the bargain.
bargain.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a fair point. Like, at least it's at random in that respect.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. So you can't just get people. Like, there's a reason Hymn to Turak is so good, and having one that you can cast in a 3-color deck is very strong.
Yep, that's a totally fair point. Now, this is a Baleful Strix. Draw some cards, try and get that card advantage. But obviously, I guess you don't have that many 1-drops in the deck that you care about in terms of Chalice on 1. Like, you got like Thought Scour and that kind of stuff, but it's not that scary for yourself. Right?
No, yeah,
it doesn't really affect you much.
It doesn't affect me nearly as much as it affects him.
And your win con has arrived.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
1-1 beats.
20 turn clock gets there.
That's 1 card less off bargains every turn.
Yeah.
So Mishra's Bauble.
I think I had to look to figure out what the card was.
What it
Like, this format introduces cards that you just don't see often because they're in decks that you don't normally see play.
Yeah.
So even if you play a lot of Eternal formats, like I play quite a bit of Vintage and Highlander and Legacy, and you don't necessarily see these cards.
Yeah, I love it. Especially playing like super powerful cards alongside cards that don't look powerful at all but are actually really good in Classic, like Mental Note.
Yeah.
Oh, the beats still keep going, and you're activating Gaia Reach every turn here, which is good. And obviously
he's just discarding 1-drops at the moment. So
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
I think I was just digging for more land drops at that point.
Yep, makes sense. And your graveyard is well fueled, but you now have your triple colors to cast a Leovold if you were to draw it.
Yeah, which again is very difficult. So here I play Twilight Mire because it makes a huge difference when you're trying to play Abrupt Decay and Leovold and Liliana.
That's a good point.
It's a very, very good card. The filter lands, I think.
Yeah, I think they're quite well positioned then. It doesn't mean you have to play like so many tri-lands because you can play these come into play untapped lands, which are just a lot better.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how people end up trying to find the optimum land build for 2, 3, even 4-color decks.
Yeah, I think it's You know, all it takes is some entrepreneur like yourself or anyone else who's out there who wants to brew and find the right way to build a mana base.
Yeah, so just Chalice is just doing work here. And just
It really is.
beating away with
This Strix.
the Strix.
I have this feeling he's going all the way, right?
Yeah.
But this is... Oh, there's
there we
Leovold.
go.
Man,
Leovold down.
This is your mull to 4 and you're really clawing back, aren't you?
Yeah, well, like, just there's a lot of very good hate cards in the format for different decks, and so Chalice is just really strong.
Yeah, and you're playing just one of them, is that right? Just
I think we're two.
Yeah, so
Two on the board.
there's some games you want it and some games you don't want it.
Yeah, but there's definitely an argument to be had for saying that decks that can play 4 main deck are pretty good.
Yeah. I've seen the mono red Blood Moon and Chalice and Thorn decks that are out there, and they're scary in Classic. They just turn 1, they can deploy one of these, 2 or 3 drop hate pieces consistently.
Like between Trinisphere, Chalice, Blood Moons, can get a huge portion of the field.
Yeah, that's it. And they've got the Chrome Moxen and then the Soul Lands and then the Simian Spirit Guide to power them out really consistently.
Yeah. Just still activating Gaia Reach. And here,
oh, it's happened!
Get him! So, because it's in his end step, he's already drawn for the turn. So, after I activate, he just discards.
Whoa.
So, it's just discard a card every turn. And I'll filter.
That is some true thug life.
You get some
right
huge value out of it. Huge value.
Gaia Reach, awesome. Wow.
Yeah, just little guy beats.
It's working.
Really gets there.
This is, you've got this unbanned Yorgmoth's Bargain 4 of. You've got these, Lion's Eye Diamond. You've got so many powerful cards, and then they're just, destroyed by Leovold.
Yeah.
And, that's imprinting Sleight of Hand? Yeah. So he's worked his way up to actually casting a bargain here. Is that happening? Yeah. Yep, that's 6. There's bargain.
Cast bargain.
All right, so draw. Oh, no, I think he cracked line. Oh, Force of Will.
To be honest, probably didn't need to Force of Will. He couldn't actually draw any cards.
Oh, that's so funny.
So, discarding Mindbreak Trap. Jeez, that's savage.
Bold. That is a show of strength.
Yeah, completely unnecessary. But
Well, you're like, I just make sure you don't, right? Just deny you any option here. So this is the Leovold Gaia Reach interaction.
End-step Gaia Reach, yeah.
I draw... what is it? I draw discard, you discard.
Yeah. Seems really strong on a land.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. Oh, and just, kill my Leovold and I'll just draw a card from that too. So,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love
strong.
it. So this would probably be 1 drop. Oh, Submerge is gone. Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't sure why he didn't play that.
Yeah, or 2 cards. So maybe his last card or 2 is probably something that can play a bargain or something. But obviously, bargain draws a card, 2 cards per turn cycle. One of which would be your normal draw step, but it's just replacing it by 1 life lost when Leovold's out.
So both there and here, I show my inexperience with playing with Chalice of the Void and cast 1-drop spells into it.
Oh, is it a Duress?
Yeah, Duress and a Thought Scour, and didn't realize until the next game.
Well,
luckily, it didn't make a difference.
On the
to
upside,
game.
it makes literal 0 difference. You have totally locked him out.
Yeah, but felt not good realizing
afterwards. You're like, sorry for cheating.
Yeah.
Sorry for cheating, but I guess it wasn't relevant. So what he doesn't really have a game plan here. Once I guess in his sideboard he has Void Snare, Submerge, Chain of Vapor, Hercule's Recall. He's got answers to your board, but they're just so few and far between to actually, because you can't just tutor for them.
Yeah, finding them it can be hard. And I'd already turned off Charles had turned off his filter spells.
Yeah.
So he just couldn't look for stuff. He was just purely on top deck.
Yeah, when you're playing a deck that has 4 Sleight of Hand, 4 Preordain, 4 Serum Visions, and so on and so forth, the odds of finding those hate pieces or answers to hate pieces are quite high. But that Chalice and that, I think it was a Days on the first Serum Visions, I think. Was
Yeah,
that the
in
previous
game- no,
game
it
one?
was in game one.
But that's like a good example of what you can do in this format and really disrupt your opponent. Like because you don't have fetch lands, you don't have brainstorm, you don't have these ways of just like magically sculpting your hand perfectly. Surgically targeting those hand sculpting spells is relevant.
Yeah, it can make a huge difference.
And so Michael is on the play here, and I mean, although you're not worried about turn 1 wins, it's still worrying because you can assemble a turn 3 win with a bargain, and that's pretty robust.
Yeah, well, we saw it in game 1.
Yeah.
Just got savaged by it.
Yep, I'd be worried. He's scrying both to the bottom, so he doesn't like what he sees.
But again, that shows how powerful Sarven Visions really can be. It's like, just...
That's stronger than Brainstorm, right? Like when you go, I'm looking at 3 cards, kind of, and I definitely want to get rid of 2 of these cards. In that place, it is stronger than Brainstorm.
In this format, it's crazy.
So, sleight of hand.
Yep.
So again, continuing to sculpt and try and find exactly the right way to assemble probably a turn 3 win, right?
Yeah. And before that, I just Street Wraithed just to draw more cards and see. Like I did it before I played my land drop to make sure that I saw the most cards.
Yep.
But it fuels your graveyard. It's great.
Yeah.
Cards are really, really good in this format.
I like it. And it's like a fair version of Thought Scour in response to Cabal Therapy, which has now filled your graveyard significantly.
And I think at this point he names Chalice of the Void because he's so scared of it.
Of that. Yep. I can see why, because his sideboard is like Void Snare and Chain of Vapor, both of which get countered by a Chalice on 1.
Yeah, that seems tough.
So your hand is Wasteland, another land, Sunken Ruins, is it? Is that one? And then a Trop, another Trop, Leovold, Thought Scour, Force. Okay, yeah, it's a well set up hand, but obviously land heavy. But you can just go to town with maybe you won't Wasteland next turn. You just want to build to Leovold, right?
Yeah,
that's hard. That's hard decisions.
Tough decisions.
Depends what you draw, I guess.
Leovold's so good in this matchup. That it's difficult.
Yeah.
But I think I did, I just wanted to Wasteland him to keep him off.
Yeah. So. I think it's totally fair. Like, you're not as afraid when they only have 1 mana source and play a second mana source, because Bargain doesn't come out very easily off 2 lands.
Yeah.
But off 3 lands, Bargain comes out really consistently easily.
Yeah, and I knew that I could go Wasteland Thought Scour and make better use of my mana.
Oh, good point.
So I think I just wanted to try and maximize what I was doing.
Yep, makes sense. And so here now you're it depends on whether or not you got a 2-drop here, but this is definitely a scary moment when you pass to your opponent and they could go like Dark Ritual into Therapy or Force of Will and then try and assemble a Bargain, but he passes back. So that Wasteland was really, really relevant.
Yeah, it really can make a huge difference. I noticed in the second game he was stuck on 3 or 4 lands for quite a long time. And then down comes Leovold. Can make it quite difficult to come back from. Yep,
definitely. Especially now that his options with Serum Visions and so on are massively limited.
Yeah. Although Sleight of Hand does get around that, so that's
Sleight of Hand. Oh wow, Sleight of Hand, the anti-Leovold tech.
Yeah, that's it.
You heard it here.
The other thing, Leovold's just like being a 3/3 is actually super relevant in the format where Death and Taxes and 2/2s make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a good point. I remember staring down a Leovold in our game and kind of going, I've got an army of 2 1s and 2 2s. Can't do anything. Can't actually beat. So this hand.
Here I floated an extra black mana of Sunken Ruins just to make sure that I'd be able to cast more black spells.
Yeah, I see. So yeah, you take the Submerge. Is there I guess he knows you've got Force of Will, so is that why he doesn't Submerge there? I think I Submerge, right?
Yeah, I think I would too, but like I don't know.
I guess it's card parity, right? He Submerges, and then you take a different card from his hand, and you gain a card off Leovold.
And then I've still got enough mana floating that I can recast it.
Oh yeah, okay, yep, got it. Makes sense.
Yeah. So
yeah, he could literally Submerge you. You go okay, and then I'll play it, and you've drawn a card in that.
Yeah.
Treasure Cruise. Whoa. This is a big cruise. And this is why you build your decks in Classic to involve some kind of cycling or thought scouring or Mishra's Baubles and so on, because because you can play multiple treasure cruisers, and the problem is treasure cruise isn't really good if you don't build around it, and you have to build around it in this format.
Yeah, you really do. Like, it's turn 4, and that was just a huge turn for me to be able to... I drew 4 cards that turn.
It's a big turnaround.
Yeah.
I know that, in the past, people have said, you don't have to build around treasure cruise. That's why they're so good. In Legacy, you could just play 4 treasure cruisers. Don't build around them. You just play Delver with 4 treasure cruisers. Problem is in Classic, there's no fetches. There's no Gitaxian Probe. Like, you can't fill your graveyard easily by playing a normal game. You do want to build around them.
Yeah, definitely. And you really have to. But
when you do, you get this.
It.
Yeah, it is definitely worth it.
Huge card advantage when it works.
Yeah. So beats again. This is a familiar situation, right? Attacking for 4 with a. Is this a hardcast?
Hardcast
Street Wraith.
Not gonna lie, there was quite a few times during the day where Street Wraith definitely just won the game.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's actually so relevant. Early on, you cycle, and then get to just beat them.
Wow. Yeah, against all these, your deck is kind of threat light, and having 4 Street Wraiths in there. I mean, Gitaxian Probe couldn't do that.
No. No. So there I learned my mistake on Sleight of Hand, realizing that Leovold doesn't stop it.
Oh, wow. Forcing duress, pitching Leovold. Wow. This is a commanding spot.
Yeah, my hand was pretty gassed at this point. I think there's another Force in there as well.
Oh, wow.
And another Leovold. So,
Oh, no. This game looks like it's all but over. Only a very specific sequence involving a Submerge and no hardcast Force of Will on your side would get him out of this.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that would have to fall into place for him to get this. Yeah,
I do love the pace of this game. You guys have played 3 games in one match that is less than half an hour.
Yeah, the games went really quickly without the shuffling. I was playing a 3-color deck and he was playing Storm, and less than half an hour, 3 games.
Yeah, a non-tempo 3-color mid-rangey deck.
Yeah, still
wins 2 games, and that was less than half an hour.
Yeah, and very interactive games with slow clocks as well, and still you just get there. The format's fast.
I love it.
Not necessarily turns-wise, but in terms of game time, it's good.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't had a chance to jam some Classic, get on it. We'll see you in the next round, though. We'll bring you a whole bunch of Classic action. Thanks for watching, everyone.